is 7. I give them credit because it's very different from 7, which is cool. It starts out, you're Ethan still. You're with Mia, you have your baby, Rose, and you're living in Europe. And then Chris and his crew come in, shoot Mia, take you and Rose, throw you on a truck. Truck gets attacked or whatever. Rose disappears and you're in the village. You gotta figure out what's going on. It starts from there. There's also a cool little fairy tale type book opening in the game, which is cool. And a similar one at the end credits as well. I played it on the Xbox One, not the Xbox Series X, but graphically it looks really good. The faces look good. Got a lot of, cool, like the bosses are cool. So when you're floating around this village, you come in contact with kind of an older woman, and people in the village are being attacked. And so you're helping out, yada yada yada. You go through some shit early, as you do, like in the 7th one. And then you end up. They keep saying, "Oh, why would Mother Miranda do this?" Mother Miranda is, and here come the spoilers. She's the main villain. There are 4. This game has it has the lore. There are 4 lords you have to defeat first. Similar to the Castlevania Lords of Shadows. It reminds me of it in that aspect. And also just the setting is very Lords of Shadow, at least to me. So you gotta do that. So your first task is you go to the castle. I can't say the woman's name right. Her last name, Demestru, Alcina, I think her first name is. She's the first one you fight. She was the one that kept showing in the trailers. And everybody was losing their cool over. She was a cool character. I will say this. That castle part of the game is actually probably the longest part out of the 4 areas you go to. You go there first after screwing around the village. You get attacked by a bunch of Lycans. That's the thing here. There's all types of different creatures, and I'll get more into the story of why that is in a few minutes. But you go to the castle. She has her 3 children. You saw them in the trailers too. They're not vampires. They're like bug things. It explains it to you. You find some notes and stuff. How she was making them, because each of the lords is trying to make creatures. The reason Rose was taken, more spoilers, is because Miranda wants to bring her child back. Miranda's super old. I'll get into that as well. She wants to bring her child back, so they keep trying with the villagers and everybody else, whatever. And the 4 lords were also made. It's like the Kabu, I don't know what they call it. The Kaibu, I think. They put them in the people, and you see how they react and stuff. But the 4 lords are Alcina, Lady Demestru, Moreau, who's like an Island of Dr. Moreau type, Donna Benevito, I think that's how you say last name. She has the doll with her, and Heisenberg is like the Lycan one, although he has his, I'll get into that too later. But you go there first. That's probably the coolest part. Well, that's definitely top 2 at least. The castle looks fucking great. The environments look good. The indoor environments look good. The outdoor environments look not as good. But there's it's classic Resident Evil when you're in there. There's enemies, there's these winged enemies. There's these other guys that are kind of just look like zombies. There are Lycans. I'll get into other enemies I come across later on. So you go through the castle, and her children, her daughters are stalking you. Take them out. Then eventually you gotta fight her. Oh, Duke is another character in the game. He's the shopkeeper. He appears. You buy stuff from him. You can sell stuff to him. Buy upgrades. Buy supplies. Upgrade your ammo. Your inventory chest. has like 4. So you can fit more stuff in there, because if you run out, you gotta try to Tetris it by moving stuff around and shit. But he's there doing that. There are, it's gonna be all over the place, this review. You can find little goats to shoot. In 7 it was the little figurines, and this one it's goats that are just hidden. I did not get all of them. I probably got maybe like 15 or something. You can combine to make ammo. You can make health gel or whatever drink things. He pours it over himself and heals, which is actually explained, which is nice. I'll get into that later as well. And the village is always there too. You can explore the village. You know, at certain points you gotta get certain things. There's like wells around. You gotta get a well crank to lift up the well. You can find items in there. You can get lockpicks. Certain things are locked. You find lockpicks occasionally. There's 4 in each area. There's one of those little tilt games where you find a ball and you put it in. You get tilt it, and you get it, and you get a prize. And you can sell stuff to Duke as well. After you kill enemies and stuff, they'll drop like crystal skulls, shards. The bosses drop things as well that are valuable. You find valuable items all over the place. There are a bunch of chests scattered about with different weapons and other high-valued items you can do. So there is a little bit of an open world, very low-level open world we can explore. And stuff. You can kill animals to get food, and then you give Duke the stuff, and he makes the recipe, and you get, like, I did one for a permanent health increase. There's one for speed increase and block increase damage. Like, you can take more damage when you block and stuff. I think I did 2 of those, because I stupidly sold some of the ingredients to him, because I thought, oh, I'm just going to sell it to him and he'll have it, but no, you have to keep it and then put it in the thing, and it stays there until you get all of them. There's a couple special animals of each. There's like pigs, there's sheep at one point attacking me, fish, and chicken, I believe. Because you find some photos, and they're like, oh, look, there's a special animal here, and you gotta figure out where it is. And there's light puzzles in this game as well, like combination locks, stuff like that. There's somewhere you shoot the flaming thing to light other things on fire so it moves, stuff like that. The castle looks good. It's very big. Like I said, it's the longest area you'll be in is that one, not counting like the village itself when you're running around trying to find chests and stuff. If you want to do that, you don't have to. But you do that. Chris is lurking around too. It's kind of annoying. A nitpicking thing here is Chris is like, Ethan, you can't handle this. I told you not. You can't handle it. It's like, dude, I'm taking everybody out. I can clearly handle it. That should be acknowledged. And it kind of is a little later, but he keeps saying, it's like, dude, you know what I'm doing, bro, and you know what I did in 7 as well. But eventually you fight Lady Demestru, or whatever her name is. She turns into a cool creature. The boss fights in this game are pretty cool. You take her out, and then you get a piece of Rose. Rose has been split into 4, like, vials. I don't know how they did this, but... And you gotta get each one and then kind of like put her back together, or she, gets put back together. You gotta put them in this thing. So, take her out, you move on to the next one. I don't know if you can do it. I would assume Heisenberg is last, no matter what. I don't know if you can fight Moreau and the Donna one differently or not, but I went right to Donna's section next. And, that was pretty cool. A lot of people were saying, I think someone might say in the comments, and I heard other places too, her area was like Silent Hilly. Now, in my opinion, I don't think it is. Maybe a little bit like that Silent Hills demo that came out of like 4 or 5 years ago, whenever the hell that was now. That Kojima was supposed to make a Silent Hills game, but it never happened. It's almost a little more evil within this area, or even a Fatal Frame to an extent. But it's actually the creepiest, probably, area in the game, because this game overall, in my opinion, is not that creepy. And I heard the developers like dumbed it down because the other one scared people too much, which is ridiculous. That's the point. And her area is cool because you go into her house house, and there's just dolls everywhere because she has the doll. And it's kind of like the mindfuck area. He keeps hearing things. He's seeing his wife. He was hearing stuff. You gotta find stuff. There's actually the creepiest part probably is after a certain point, like a giant deformed baby starts chasing you. You have to hide from it, and a few things like a clock tower, like in the clock tower games, and avoid it because it will just kill you if it grabs you. And that boss fight was interesting because you have to find there's a bunch of dolls everywhere, and they're possessed by the woman, or she's using her menacite, as they call the stuff, the main stuff, that like the mold type shit. And you have to run and find the doll, because the doll's the one that's chasing you and stuff. You gotta find it, because if you don't in time, the other dolls will kill you. And every time you find her, you stab her a few times, and then that one dies. So that boss fight was probably the easiest and the least involved in terms of using weapons, because you don't use any. You don't even have your stuff at that area at all. You lose it. And there's some pretty decent puzzles in that area as well. That was a short section. That was probably the shortest section in the game, but it was the creepiest for sure. Because the castle wasn't even overly creepy either, but it looked great. The environment, once again, the atmosphere is great. But then you go to Moreau's area next, and he's like the water, because he turns into like a giant fish creature, and you gotta fight him. You gotta like lower the water. That part was all right. And you, like I said, you can combine. You can make weapons. You can buy from Duke. You can buy the recipes for things. So you find herbs, chem fluids, parts, shit like that. You can combine them into bullets, ammunition. You can make trip mines, pipe bombs, and the healing gel. I don't know what it's called. I forget what it's called. That he just pours over himself. He just gets his hand cut off, and he just pours it on him, and the hand just goes back on, and then you actually find out later on. It's like a big revelation. I'll get to that. So at least that's explained, but he loses a few fingers early in the game too. They get like bitten off, but you get to tap out lichens. And you can, when you're trapped in places, you can move stuff in front of windows and doors and stuff. I think you could do that in 5 as well, and you might have been able to do it in 4 also. But then you go to that area. You do use boat at one point as well, so you can go to little other sections as well. Because you want to go around and find hidden stuff. Like at one point you get a crank in the windmill area too, and then you can use the crank in other spots to unlock other areas, to find chests. Like I said, you find high valued items or weapons. Like there's one under the castle, because I went back to that area. I had to light a dude on fire and have him walk into the candle type thing, so he would light it and the door would open. And you keep getting these keys that add wings to it to get to longer areas. So actually I think you do have to, maybe not. Well, you'd have to do Heisenberg glass because you need 6. Moreau's area, his boss fight's pretty cool. There's a couple parts where you have to he sinks the kind of little area, and you gotta run across and avoid him, and do little things where you gotta get these little things to come up, and you gotta get across quick. His boss fight all the boss fights are pretty cool. And then there's other big boss fights that you can do to get. You don't have to. They're kind of optional. And I missed one. I missed the one because I think there's because I had to look it up. I couldn't get into this tomb in the little graveyard in the village. And I'm like, I don't know what to do here. I looked it up, and it's like, oh, only at a certain point you can do it. I entered a different area, so I wasn't able to do it because zombies are supposed to come up or whatever they are. And I didn't do it, so I missed that. So it kind of sucks. But I have an early save, so I might just go back to do it to get it. Because I think that's another boss fight, kind of boss fight, because you fight like an alpha werewolf. You can fight in a certain area, and another giant. And they take a ton, and then you get big value stuff from them as well. And then like Heisenberg wants your help because he's tired of being treated the way he is. He hates Mother Miranda and all this shit. And in his area, this is where even after the second area, with the doll and the creepiness, Moreau's area, it starts to lose a little bit of that survival horror aspect. Not as much there, but then in Heisenberg's area, it just pretty much becomes pure action. And that section, in my opinion, was way too long and annoying. I enjoyed it because there was some cool enemies, because Heisenberg's building these enemies. So the one guy's got the main kind of boss one has a giant propeller. He's just chasing you. It's like a propeller on legs. And there's other ones that can launch at you, and they have drills and stuff like that. You gotta kind of shoot them in this heart type thing and stuff. But this area is long. It's a little confusing. There's a bunch of floors. But oh yeah, you could also break boxes too, everywhere to find stuff, like every other game in the series. And you could upgrade your weapons, stuff like that. I mean, you get everything. You get 2 handguns, you get a Magnum. Oh, it's a Wolfsbane. It's called a grenade launcher, a machine gun, 2 machine guns you could buy late. Well, not machine guns. I think the one's kind of like an Uzi type. I forget. 2 shotguns, a sniper rifle, which is used in the one fight. And a sniper rifle is actually really, I got a lot of use out of that actually. A lot of headshots, taking the heads off, because some of the enemies can be a little bullet spongy if you're not trying to hit them right in the head. And some of the treasures you find can be combined to make them more valuable. And you don't know whose side Duke is on in the beginning, but he ends up pretty much being a good guy at the end. Like I said, the Heisenberg area, the Heisenberg fight is really cool in my opinion, but his stronghold in his warehouse, it's actually, no, you go to a stronghold first. That's when it gets to it, because you go to a stronghold first, and there's 50, I feel 50 Lycans come at you, and you have to fight a main one. And then you go to his warehouse, I think it is. And this place is huge, and it went on too long. It definitely did. They could have added more to the doll area, in my opinion, and took some away from that. Overall, the voice acting is pretty good. Ethan's voice acting at points is really good. At some points, it's a little, I don't know why, but he shows real emotion. It's really good, and everybody else is pretty good. And like I said, Chris pops up a few times, and you actually, like I said, you know the spoilers here. You use Chris in a short section after you beat Heisenberg. Now the Heisenberg boss fight's cool because, like I said, he builds all types of stuff because he's trying to build something that will kill Mother Miranda. And Chris gives you this thing. It's like a little tank type thing with a chainsaw and one thing that shoots missiles and just bullets. And that's the first part of the fight with Heisenberg. Heisenberg turns into this cool kind of almost a robot thing. His mold or whatever takes form of that. But that's a pretty cool fight. His voice actor's alright, Heisenberg's, but his voice is kind of strange. Not strange, but I don't know. But like I said, all the boss fights are pretty cool. So after that, because then Mother Miranda kills Ethan, takes his heart out, whatever, you put all the pieces of Rose back in the thing or whatever, and she comes. And then you use Chris, because now the BSAA, remember them from 5 and stuff, they're attacking this village, because now the village is all fucked up. And then Chris and his guys are there, and you have a ton of ammo and everything with Chris, and you're just kind of fucking shit up. You're pretty overpowered. Once again, all action. And then this is where the revelation comes in. You find out, Evelyn, you're dreaming as Ethan now, because you're dead. And Evelyn's there, and she's like, you died in the previous game. You're like, yeah, Jack Baker killed you, I guess early on, which is interesting. And now you're just pretty much mold. That's why you can just take so much punishment and shit, because you're her story because Ethan does, once again, more spoilers, he does actually die afterwards. He like sacrifices himself and Chris escapes with Rose. And Mia is still alive as well. Mother Miranda can take forms of anything. In the beginning of the game, she took a form of Mia to get Rose because she wants Rose. Because she wants to bring her dead child back. Now, this is where it's kind of cool story-wise. They mentioned Spencer from the original Resident Evils. He met, or Miranda saved her, and they were doing stuff, but she wanted to just raise her daughter, and Spencer had the bigger idea, so that's where they formed Umbrella. Like he says, they found these symbols in a cave, and he used that symbol as Umbrella. Because I guess this stuff's always been there, because Mother Miranda's old, and she came in contact with the spores of the mold, or whatever the Menacite. I guess it's given her everlasting life, or whatever. So I thought that was cool, that they're kind of explaining kind of the origins almost of it as well. It's just cool. So Spencer, in his little note, you read notes, and he says how he wants to like kind of take over everything almost. But it looks like if there's also the BSAA is attacking as well. You find out that they send him bioweapons, so now Chris is like, what the fuck, we're gonna go pay him a visit. So maybe the next one will be that, and you might be using Rose, the daughter, as well, because she's older. And she's supposed to be like superpowered, that's why Miranda wanted her. Because she would try all these test subjects to try to bring her daughter back, and they wouldn't work, or they would turn into like her kids. She would call them Heisenberg and stuff, and people like that. So, overall, like I said, cool, really good game. I don't like it as much as 7. It is completely different, which is nice, but 7, to me, was absolutely, like, a shit ton creepier than this one, in my opinion. This one had its moments, but it also just was too much action. That warehouse section, and then at least the stuff with Chris, you're kind of overpowered, so it's kind of fun. He's got a bunch of cool weapons, and he puts in night vision when you go in the building and stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff there. And you can use a little targeting thing, and they shoot a missile in and stuff. But it's just constant, like you're just making so much ammo at that point in the warehouse and finding so much shit that it's like, at that point it's like a Resident Evil 5, like straight up action. It's actually funny, Heisenberg calls Chris a boulder punching asshole. I'm pretty sure it was 5 where he like punches boulders or some shit. I thought that was funny. So it looks like Ethan is truly gone, but I guess you never know in Resident Evil universe. I would probably give it like an 8.5 because 7 I fucking loved. Like 7's probably a 9.5 or a 9 to me. This one's just not as good on the front, and it seemed like it should have been longer, and I did a lot. Like I said, I missed out on one chest or another chest I think I might have missed out on. But I pretty much did everything. I mean, maybe max I could push 12 to 13 max hours out of it. There is the Mercenaries mode as well, which I will play some. They brought that back, so that's cool. And I'll probably replay it again at some point as well. But overall, it was really cool. Like it says, graphically, it's good, and the combat is good, regardless if it turns into an action game. The combat is fun, and there are some creepy parts, and there is pretty good gameplay variation, I suppose, as well. I say that castle part is absolutely the longest because I was in there for probably like 3 hours at least, 3 to 4 hours at least, because I only left and then got back to the village when I stopped playing originally. And you get in the castle maybe after like a half hour, 45 minutes, so it could have been like 4 hours of gameplay in there. So like I said, you can find all types of stuff to sell as well, so it's a good guy. I probably missed some stuff, but I thought the story was pretty good Resident Evil wise as well, which is nice. That was a point. Like, the only downfall for me was the fact that it was not as creepy as 7. You know, not even on par, in my opinion. In my opinion, 7 was the creepiest, and this is the creepiest in the series. And Revelations 2 is really creepy. That's another, actually, the warehouse stuff and stuff has a very Revelations 2 vibe to it as well. Like I said, though, that section was a little too long, in my opinion. overall, it's an excellent game for sure. Nothing. I didn't really ever get too pissed off at it, which is nice. I beat it on the standard mode, so I guess it goes casual, standard, and then there's 2 difficulties above that. The normal mode I beat it on. And you unlock some stuff, and you can get, I bet, better weapons or whatever. You can use, like, credits you get by doing challenges at the end. They give you the points for that. But, overall, it was definitely really cool, and it was different than 7, which is cool. So hopefully they expand upon that in 9. Because 7 and 8, like, really are, it almost feels like a completely different thing, which is good. I like how they explained, well, Ethan actually was molded. I guess Evelyn molded him after, I think it was a part early in the game, where I guess you would have been killed in that. But at least that explains stuff, how, like, he gets his hand cut off in this, and then also he just pours the stuff on it, and then puts it back on. I'm like, that's weird. Like I said, overall, though, really good experience. Didn't like it as much as 7, but I did enjoy it, for sure. Like I said, though, it does lose steam, like the castle part, and then the dollhouse area are definitely, like, in my opinion, the stronger, because if you want to count it in halves, like those 2 and then Moreau and Heisenberg, and you kind of have the village stuff is also fun as well, like unlocking new stuff and getting new parts that you can do stuff with, and little secret areas or whatever you're finding is also cool. The village is almost like the hub, kind of. But yeah, the castle and the dollhouse areas definitely are the stronger parts of the game, in my opinion. And the other 2 are it kind of gets weaker, It's like almost a tale of 2 games, because at least you still have definitely the creepiness of the dollhouse, and the castle is sort of creepy for sure, because Lady Dimitri will actually follow you around after you kill her daughter. She'll follow you around and appear out of nowhere, like a tyrant or whatever, in the earlier ones. But her boss fight's actually really cool too. All boss fights are good. Like I said, really the only down points to me are it's not creepy enough, and it turns into almost a straight action game. Which kind of sucks, but it's still fun. It's just, like I said, the warehouse part was a little too long. If it was all action, I wouldn't have cared as much if it was just a little shorter of a section. Because that environment, to me, while looking good, wasn't as good as the other ones. Like I said, that dollhouse part should have been longer. They really should have made that a little bit longer, because that was the creepiest section for sure. They should have made that a little bit longer. But overall, I enjoyed it quite a bit. If you're into it, we'll pick it up. I mean, it kind of ruined most of it, so hopefully, like I said earlier, there were spoilers, so if you haven't, a lot of people probably beaten it at this point that wanted to play it. But it's really pretty cool game. I probably forgot some things, but whatever. I did like it, and I am excited for 9. Somebody was asking about doing like a Resident Evil kind of thing, like I did with Far Cry and Assassin's Creed. So I'll probably do like a Resident Evil ramble at some point this month, June. I forgot it's still May. But yeah, I'd say I'd probably give this about an 8.5, to be honest with you. Really a great game. 8.5 is great, but not as good as 7. I kind of want to go back and play 7. I fucking love 7. Like, 7 is fucking awesome. But that's the beauty of stuff like Resident Evil. Everybody's gonna have their favorites. Someone might be like, oh, the first one's amazing. Someone might be like 4. Someone might be like 6. Probably not 6, but someone might be like this one. Somebody might say 2, whatever,